I could not be more disappointed in a brand.
I just want to know why they felt like they needed to get a guy involved in it. A guy who doesn't wear makeup.
Red flags.
A sexist man.
A man to be their spokesperson, but not just any man. They got a misogynist. The tea is boiled and steeped, so let's get into it.
And e.l.f. that.
So I woke up yesterday to just a barrage of angry beauty influencers as writhing around, so angry and upset at e.l.f. And I was just like, what did e.l.f. do? I thought we loved e.l.f. e.l.f. is the affordable, makeup brand that dupes, these, all the high-end stuff that is often being sold for like $50 per product. So everybody really likes them because you can get basically the same product for way cheaper. Although my only gripe with e.l.f. is that affordable seems to be, a subjective term. Like what e.l.f. deems affordable and what I deem affordable seems to be, slowly, going in a very opposite direction. Like we have two very different ideas of what that is, and more and more there are better, more affordable options at the drugstore that you can, choose from. YouTube, it was just, e.l.f. has made the biggest mistake ever. e.l.f. is cancelled. e.l.f. is not okay. e.l.f. is just not it, girl. I don't think anybody's video was actually titled that, but maybe that's what I'll title mine. But my question was, what the heck did they do? Who is Matt Rife? I couldn't place the name. I don't know people's names. But once I saw the thumbnails in the YouTube videos, I was just like, oh, I feel like he's been canceled before. Here is the main joke that I think initially got him canceled. Not 100% sure, but let you judge.
Baltimore, one time I ate lunch there, and the hostess who seats you at the restaurant had a black eye. A full black eye. It wasn't like, what happened? It was pretty obvious what happened. And we couldn't get over the fact that we're like, this is the face of the company? Like, this is who you have greeting people? And my boy who I was with was like, yeah, I feel bad for her, man. I feel like they should put her in the kitchen or something where nobody has to see her face, And I was like, yeah, but I feel like if she could cook, she wouldn't have that black eye. Yeah, of course I felt bad for her, man. But she should have had her protection crystals, you know what I mean? I've only been to Baltimore one time.
You have to tell me, did you think it was funny? Don't get me wrong, I've seen people poke fun at, kind of darker, edgier stuff like this, and you're just like, oh my god, I shouldn't be laughing at this topic, but their delivery was so great, it's funny. And his just kind of fell flat for me, and it was just like, and it just kind of reminded me I'm back in high school. That's what it reminded me of, it just kind of reminded me of, jerky guys, joking around with each other. It just didn't strike me as very funny. So don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily know, I feel like other comedians have made very similar jokes, and, it's landed, it's been funny, and people have just been like, oh, it's funny, and kind of moved on. His didn't seem to land properly for whatever reason. And, however, despite being canceled by the internet, it seems that Matt Rife is how you say his last name? Rife? Matt Rife is doing quite well.
I don't know if anybody told you guys, but we broke the record for most tickets sold ever in this arena by anyone.
That is
Insane, dude. What a blast it's been. And also, this is...
I mean, to land, a contract with e.l.f. and, he's still doing stand-up. So he, which kind of proves the theory that you can't be canceled, at least for certain things, you know, or if you're a certain person. It seems, I mean, there are people who are just kind of ordinary people who have been fired from their jobs. And you could argue they were definitely canceled because now they have to go out and, you know, get unemployment or, you know, get a new job and all of that. You're going to definitely say they were canceled and definitely were affected. But people like Matt don't really seem to be affected by cancel culture unless they want to. You know, they have to go, oh, okay, and bow out and choose to, you know, leave the public eye. And Matt has definitely chosen to not do this. And people are still going to his, you know, stand-up routines. So people obviously do find him funny and do like him. He's not my cup of tea. Maybe it was just that one joke that I just didn't like. Maybe if I actually went there. But he does a lot of crowd work. I hate it's like stand-up stuff that does like crowd work. That is like, so I'm an introvert and that is my worst nightmare. I think if I were to go to a stand-up thing and a comedian were to call on me, I think I would probably just like implode from just the sheer like inner turmoil and stress that it would cause me. Let's, you know, just, you know, put our biases aside for a minute about Matt or anything, and let's just watch the ad and just try to, you know, just pretend that we don't know who Matt is, and then just watch the ad.
Has overpriced beauty hurt your wallet? e.l.f. that! Alfino and Schmarns have gone to e.l.f. Court for millions of clients, helping them to access beauty products they deserve at prices that won't injure their livelihoods.
Just ask the elfing people.
I know a thing or two about red flags. In pricey makeup, you deserve better than that.
You may be entitled to benefits.
Let's get you those eyes, lips, funds.
Find out what your case and face are really worth.
Call us at 1-855-COLD-HARD-LASH.
That's 1-855-265-34.
273-2274.
How people gonna remember that?
Well, here's a number you can remember. $9.
Alfino and Schmarns, affordable beauty attorneys. Will win the elfing case for your eyes, lips, and face. Call 1-855-265-2473-732-274.
Call me.
Putting our biases, any biases aside that we have for Matt, or even if maybe you have biases for drag queens, because there is a drag queen in the ad as well, you can put that aside as well. I don't know if like the ad was that good. It didn't make me want to buy any makeup from e.l.f. I felt like they were trying to tap into nostalgia that people have for the quote-unquote good old days. A lot of people consider like the 80s and the 90s, you know, like the perfect time period. You know, it's you know, after the civil rights movement, after, you know, the whole women's liberation in the 70s and women really entering into the workforce and protesting the pay gaps. So, and women becoming doctors and lawyers and CEOs and all this stuff, getting with their power suits on and all of this, especially, you know, with 90s and, you know, late 80s and 90s. And so I feel like they were really trying to tap into that nostalgia and hoping that nostalgia makes people want to, you know, feel a certain way and then feel a certain way about their makeup and the brand and want to buy that makeup. But Matt being labeled as a misogynist, I'm not sure if having a decades piece, going for a decades, you know, period piece with this, going retro with it, was a good idea. Maybe going more futuristic would have been a better idea, just because he's already labeled as a misogynist, and then you dress him up as somebody, you know, back in the day, you know, hey girl, all that, you know, I don't know if it did any favors for that image that he has. And you may have also noticed that, you know, they did have a a person of color, specifically a drag queen, which I also feel like was maybe potentially just another like checkbox for them, like, oh, let's, LGBTQ, let's throw that in there to check off a box to sell makeup. Or maybe they felt like it would like offset Matt Rife. So it's like, okay, so we'll have Matt Rife for the conservatives, for the MAGAs, for the alt-right, and then for the alt-left, we'll get a drag queen, a person of color, so that, to appease them. And then we're appeasing everybody, and everybody that's, kind of more or less in the middle, that's more independent politically, just, won't even care. And so we'll have appeased both sides of the, political aisle, whether if you're, all the way on the right or all the way on the left. And, we'll have won, and, we'll be selling makeup to both sides. And, if you, is, definitely a choice. There was this video that I came across of this girl who claims to have worked with Matt Rife, so we can definitely watch that, and let's just see what she has to say.
That's talking about boycotting e.l.f. because of Matt Rife. It has 2.1 million likes on it. Everyone in the comments is angry at Matt Rife, mostly because of the domestic violence joke he made a few years ago. I'm a stand-up comedian, female. It's tough, okay? You are surrounded by some of the worst men in the whole world. You don't even know. It's like, it's terrible. And I have had such a hard time. And yeah, they make me feel terrible about life, myself, everything. I hate it. It's a terrible environment to try to be creative in and try to have fun in. And I have been at really low moments. I've known Matt Rife before he was famous and after he was famous, like worked with him. He has cheered me up. Like, he has made me be like, oh, someone has a soul. Like, someone is nice. Wow. Like, that's how kind of a person he is. Like, it's not a publicity thing about him being like a kind, nice person. He actually is. And it's really exciting. Like, it's really nice that he's a nice person. I have a lot of friends who will get kind of famous and they become a complete psychopath. Like, they completely change as a person. He has not changed, and he became kind of like the most famous. Like, and he hasn't changed. No ego trip in sight. I want to defend him because, I don't know, if you ever have like a friend or someone that cheers you up, someone that you know is a very nice person, and then suddenly they're getting dragged online for something that you just know isn't, it's just not right. Like, you're going to step up and be like, hey guys, like, I know this person personally, like, I don't think this is good. I could give you a list of people that I think deserve this treatment. There are terrible people. You are very right that there's terrible people, yeah, that deserve this in this industry. He doesn't deserve it. And I am not doing this because I'm trying to hook up with him. I'm not doing this because I want to work with him, like want to get opportunities from him. I don't want anything out of this. I do not want.
That is somebody from a female who has worked with Matt, and according to her, he's not the evil, misogynist, woman-hating man that the internet claims that he is now. But according to this, Matt isn't that bad of a guy in person, at least. You can say what you want about his, stand-up career, And a lot of times within stand-up, there definitely is pressure to, do edgy content and, say stuff like that. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that Matt believes any of it, or, he's just saying things for the laughs, for the joke, for the sake of his career. Back to it, I can't help, notice, again, with the whole Matt Rife thing and then having a drag queen all in the same ad, were they trying to just hope that the drag queen would smooth things over? That's one option. So people would just be like, oh, okay, there's a drag queen in it. Okay, it's fine. Never mind. Yes, queen. That would be the response. And, or were they just hoping to appease both political parties, both sides of what you could say, you know, there's a culture war that's going on between the conservatives and liberals, and they were like, here's what somebody for you conservatives, and here's some for you liberals, you know, now shut up and buy our makeup. And if that was really what they were going for, I don't think it worked. So let's read some comments from underneath the ad, just so we can get an idea of what people are thinking. My low buy is becoming a no buy. Thanks, e.l.f. for hiring Matt Rife and making it so easy. So, is the next ad going to be how effective your concealer is at covering up waitresses' black eyes? Alluding to, you know, referring back to his joke that I think that was like the initial thing that got him canceled. And then, look. Heidi and Closet could have sold this all on their own, no need for Rife. And then, officially a NYX girl now. Oh Heidi, I'm sorry for you. Still love you, queen. But this brings me to my next marketing strategy that I was kind of wondering about. Because, you know, as you saw from the comments, people were kind of already upset with e.l.f. about their prices and had kind of already stopped purchasing e.l.f. And a quick Google search will tell you that e.l.f.'s sales have gone down, and they've been down. They're not down because of Matt Rife, they've been down. And so, and I could have told e.l.f. that, well, that's because you've been increasing your prices, and you never, ever, 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 ever run any kind of sales. Like, even Essence, who is cheaper than e.l.f., will put the products on sale. NYX, who sometimes is around the same price, or sometimes a little, like $1 or $2 more, puts their stuff on sale. e.l.f., I've never seen them put their stuff on sale. They just say, you're already getting a good deal. Shut up and buy our stuff. And it's like, yeah, sure, your stuff is dupes for higher end stuff that's $50, but guess what? There's so many other companies now that have duped everything. I can go and buy, you know, like this. You could say, like, this is a dupe for, you know, Summer Fridays. I wonder how many other people have come up from, like, a lip balm. Okay, like, or, like, I really like the e.l.f. Halo Glow. So many companies have come up with e.l.f., you know, with this, like, the Lumi Lotion from L'Oreal. I've heard people say really good things about that. Essence has their version of this as well. So, then there's the IMCO one, that's about the same price. Nice. And so, sorry, e.l.f., you're not, like, you know, you don't have the monopoly on dupes. It's not revolutionary. You're not out here innovating products, so it's hard to, like, justify your prices, because it's not like you're out here innovating and creating new things. You're not listening to your customer base at all. So, but anyways, the marketing strategy, I think, that maybe that they were trying to do to help fix low sales, I'm coining the American Eagle strategy. And American Eagle had some low sales, especially for men's jeans, men's denim. And then they got Sydney Sweeney, and, you know, they said something controversial that they knew that the extreme woke left on the internet probably wouldn't like. So then conservatives rally and they go, oh, we can't, you know, let the woke left cancel this brand and hurt their business. I'm gonna go buy a pair of jeans. I saw plenty of videos of men going and saying, I'm gonna go buy a pair of American Eagle jeans. I don't even need jeans. I never even bought a pair of American Eagle jeans. I didn't even know they sold jeans. And they went out and bought American Eagle jeans. So now their sales have gone back to normal, or at least that's what I've been told. So they had, you know, with the controversy, they had a, you know, their sales went as conservatives went to their aid, and now it's kind of gone back to where it was, to normal. But they got that boost in sales, even if it was temporary. And I'm kind of wondering, was e.l.f. hoping to recreate that? Were they hoping that, they would get this Matt Rife, who conservative men really like, and that the woke left would attack them, and then people would rush to their aid and buy their products? Here's the problem. Do conservative men buy makeup? There are conservative men that probably would buy makeup for, the women in their lives, but there also are conservative men that, makeup's a lie, I don't believe in makeup, and women, I want my woman wearing makeup. So, I don't know if e.l.f., if this, marketing strategy, if that's really what they were going for, would work for e.l.f. I don't know if it's a thing. Definitely a gamble on their part. We've seen with Euphoria that it's possible for a brand to, quote unquote, get canceled from a controversy. Because if people stop buying their products, you can't stay afloat, you can't stay in business. And people have already been upset about e.l.f., and they're increasing their prices, and instead of sticking with their brand is affordable makeup. They're supposed to be the most affordable option at a drugstore. They are not the most affordable option at the drugstore anymore. And you can argue, well, what about the quality of it? And you could say, well, I've tried stuff from, LA Girl, Wet n Wild, and stuff that I do like the quality of. I think it's good for, especially when you consider the price, especially with Wet n Wild. I do really like Wet n Wild stuff, and in essence, and they're cheaper than, what's it called? e.l.f. Completely spaced. So instead of listening to their consumer base and sticking with their brand, they're trying to compete with, they want to be a high-end drugstore brand. They want to be on the same level, as L'Oreal and Revlon and charge higher end prices. But their customers are saying, no, that's not your brand. That's not why we buy your products. That's not why we love you. We love you because you're affordable and great quality. But if you just turn into another Revlon or L'Oreal, I'm going to move on. I'm going to find something that, I can afford, that my bank account can afford. They don't understand who their customer base is. And instead of them listening to their customers who have been yelling at them saying, give us affordable makeup, they went and got a man to mansplain, no, we are affordable. Here's the affordable makeup. We are affordable makeup lawyers, and we have determined that it is affordable. Here's the affordable makeup. Go buy the affordable makeup and stop complaining about how it's not affordable. So that's how it kind of, I think, feels for some people, that e.l.f. just isn't listening to them. And they're not sticking to their brand, and they're alienating their consumer base by not listening to them and not understanding that people love them because they are affordable and because they do have good quality stuff. Again, it's the affordability that matters the most. And as soon as they lose that affordability and they start charging higher end drugstore prices and they want to be a high end drugstore brand, that they're going to lose their customers. And the people who do shop, high end, drugstore stuff, I don't know if they're necessarily going to be running to e.l.f. anytime soon either. I think it's difficult to make that switch. I think that was one of the reasons why they bought Rhode. They desperately want to be a high-end, luxury drugstore brand. They want to have that. They don't want to be, you know, on the low end of things. They don't want to be in the same category as, you know, like, LA Colors or LA Girl or Wet n Wild or Essence. You know, they don't want to be on that low end. They don't want to be there. They want to be all the way over here. And so, but they have to realize they're going to lose customers. And then you have to try and figure out how to get those high-end drugstore gals to buy your makeup. And I don't know if Matt Rife is the way to go about that. I definitely think that buying Rhode and tapping into Hailey Bieber's, fans and customers was a good idea, but I don't know what they've really done to help appeal and market themselves to her fans. You know, I haven't really seen that. Like, why didn't they get her to be in an ad? Why didn't they get her to be in an ad? I'm so confused. Anyways, so I'm just so confused. Anyways, whether you hate Matt or not, or if this was the final nail in the coffin for you, I don't know if I necessarily care about Matt. What I care about is that e.l.f. has been becoming more and more less affordable, and as I said, I think they really want to be a high-end makeup brand, and I think I would still buy their stuff if they like ran sales, but they never put anything on sale. I've never seen them do a sale, so it's not like you can just wait and get something, I'm gonna wait and get this when it's 20% off or whatever. But, like, you can get it from, like, Ulta, and you can get it, they've, marked it down 20%, and you can stack a coupon on top of it, and that's how I do a lot of stuff. And you can't do that with e.l.f. Like, yeah, sure, NYX, you can do that. In Essence, we'll put the same thing. They'll put stuff on sale, and then you can stack a coupon. And it just makes so much more financial sense. And you can't do that with e.l.f. e.l.f. never puts their stuff on sale, which again, kind of, they're going with the luxury. Like, that's a luxury strategy. Like, a lot of times designer brands, like, will never put their stuff on sale because it cheapens the brand. And that's what they're doing, it seems like. But they might say, like, it already is, like, the cheapest it can go. It's like, there are brands that are cheaper, that have very similar products, that do put their stuff on sale. So why can't you put your stuff on sale? Like, is your business really being, like, that mismanaged that you can't put anything on sale? Like, you need to, like, if that's the case, you really need to go over the books. You need to look at suppliers. You need to look at your manufacturer. You need to just figure out how these other brands are able to do it. I mean, something's going on here. There's a way to do this, but to me, it just seems more like, corporate greed. And they just don't want to. They want to be a high-end luxury drugstore brand. And they want to say sayonara to their customers that want them to be, the cheap, affordable drugstore option. So yeah. Comment down below if you think I'm correct about any of my strategies. Do you think that they got Matt Rife and then the drag queen just to kind of appease both sides of the political aisle? Or do you think that they put Matt Rife in there and to try to see if they would get canceled and then conservatives would rally to their brand and then buy a bunch of stuff and they would see even temporarily a spike in sales? But again, only time will tell. I haven't seen any reports that this whole Matt Rife thing has hurt sales, and I haven't seen any reports yet that this has also helped sales, but it might be too early for that, for us to see those numbers. Those will probably come out later. But also let me know if maybe you think they put Rife in there for a completely different reason, and then I thought of. Very curious. And also, let me know, will you be purchasing e.l.f. products anytime in the future? For me personally, I just kind of want them to go back to being affordable. I want them to go to being cheap. And if this is a thing that will get them to lower their prices, or at the very least run sales again, for the first time ever, I should say, I'm all for it. Because I think they need to remember their brand, remember who their customers are and why their customers love them. And that is because they are the cheaper brand, the more affordable brand, the brand that doesn't hurt people's wallets. And when you have an $18 product at a drugstore, you're not that anymore. Sorry, but you're not e.l.f. So that is my advice to e.l.f. is, even if they don't want to put out an apology for the ad, if they lower their prices, or ran sales and once again became an affordable brand, they very well could maybe see their way through this. Otherwise, in a year or two, we might see that they have gone the way of euphoria because people will have moved on and found cheaper alternatives, more affordable alternatives to the products that they like from e.l.f. Because again, there are plenty of products that other brands have put out that are very similar to e.l.f.'s products. The makeup market is very oversaturated, so it's not like you're necessarily unique. And so that's why it's very important when you're a makeup brand to not alienate and stop listening to your consumers. It's not a good business strategy. It's just not. But again, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm very curious, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!